Previously on the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast.
Now we embark upon the journey once again.
Yes, indeed we do. And we're going to be packing our bags and heading off to Guangzhou. Matt, I don't think either of us have ever been to Guangzhou before. We are going to be encountering the 11th Tiger by David A. McIntee. Which features the First Doctor, Barbara, Ian and Vicki, and is set in China in 1865.
Excellent.
So that's what we're going to be reading for July.
Very much looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And now our story continues.
Welcome, everyone, to the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. This is Matt in Minnesota.
Hello. Welcome to my sauna. And it's Chris in South Carolina. No, South London. It feels like I'm somewhere in the south of something, because it's hot. It's hot here. It's hot in London.
In the U.S., we're in the midst of the World Cup.
Yes.
I have not watched a single second of matches.
Okay.
But I have enjoyed all of the viral videos of folks discovering U.S. portion sizes, ranch dressing, and yes, that our school buses really are yellow.
Oh, okay. I find that a strange discovery. But that's because, I don't know if I actually mentioned this to you before, Matt. I would sometimes go on an American school bus. But that was because I brought up in a non-UK country and somebody had obviously bought a whole host of school buses in from the States. But yeah, for me, yellow is the bus you go to school in. But yes,
cool.
Yes. And I've been enjoying the Scottish excursions in Boston.
Yeah, I've seen some videos of them. Yeah, they seem to be having quite a time.
Yes. No Scotland, no party.
Minneapolis is not a host city, but we are hosting the USA qualifying games for the Special Olympics right now. So the city's busier than usual.
I hope that goes well. Vaguely Doctor Who news, there was a fantastic video of Karen Gillan and Tony Curran going to one of the games, one of the Scotland games, and just kind of singing Proclaimer's song and loudly singing it with other people joining in, both in the car and outside the car. And it just looked magical. And my wife is half Scottish, and I've always had an affinity to the Scots, even though I have no known Scottish heritage. But I was just like, they're just lovely. Yeah.
And of course, the big announcement since we've last recorded.
Oh, yes.
The second coming of the wilderness years is upon us.
Yes.
As Doctor Who is put out to tender, or hopefully not out to pasture.
Yeah, so I'd seen quite a bit of people not understanding what competitive tender means and kind of assuming that was a euphemism for being taken out to a field and shot. And like, if the BBC had wanted to rest it, I think they would have said so. Or they would have said, well, we're going to just look at options. I mean, it might be a while, but it took about 9 months, I think, for the animation to go from tender to production announcement. This may or may not be quicker. It probably won't be. But yeah, it's interesting that it's happened. But I don't think it's scary for the future of the programme. Ask me again in a year's time. I also don't think we're seeing any new episodes next year. But maybe in 2 years' time, possibly. Who knows?
I saw Grant Morrison expressed some interest in the program already.
Yes.
Which I think would be interesting.
Yeah,
And for me, at least, I hope when it comes back, it's a revival and not a reboot. I mean, the show has change baked into its DNA, and you don't need a hard reboot. Just set it and as an unknown and unnumbered doctor and roll out lore slowly, drip feed style.
Yeah.
Like how Gallifrey wasn't mentioned by name until Series 3 Gridlock. And
yeah. Well, certainly I think you don't need to have Billy Piper in. I think because Doctor Who is more tried and tested in a way than it was in 2005, I don't think you need to kind of go, I don't know whether the audience can cope with science fiction. We know that the audience can. So I personally don't think you need to be as hesitant. If anything, I think it would certainly make sense to roll out at least one big hitter villain in any kind of like first series. It is a shame that that Ncuti never faced the Daleks, the Cybermen, or the Master.
Yeah. And listeners, as a reminder, you can check out some tips from Chris about surviving the next wilderness years in a very prescient 2026 console room panel, yes. Which we'll link to in the show notes.
Yes.
And in the meantime, we, of course, have quite a swath of Doctor Who books we haven't gotten to yet. So
yeah,
we'll find ways to fill the time. And
yeah, we've got plenty of material. Yes.
Speaking of this month, we are reviewing The 11th Tiger by David McIntee.
Yes.
And a bit of book news that's been announced. Speaking of Ncuti not facing the Daleks, we have the second and final collection of 15th Doctor comic strips from the pages of DWM coming November 4th, called Corruption of the Daleks by Alan Barnes and illustrated by Mike Collins and Martin Garrity. I'm a little surprised that the comic's dropping the 15th Doctor so quickly. I feel like it's perhaps a missed opportunity to further flesh out the Ncuti era, but I suppose it's probably also a painful reminder, of how short his tenure was. But I mean, just imagine if they had axed the comics once it was known that the 8th Doctor TV movie wasn't moving to series. We would have been deprived of nearly a decade's worth of adventures. So that feels a little short-sighted to me.
Well, so are they axing the comic strip entirely?
I'm not sure, and they might go away for a while. It could be repurposed for Circuit Breaker, who knows?
Yeah, I think the difference here is that we have seen what definitely looks like Ncuti regenerating.
Yeah.
And so he's not the current Doctor. So it's not like we're keeping the show alive with the current Doctor.
Yeah, they'd have to fit into existing,
Yeah, we don't know who the current Doctor is, but the current Doctor is almost certainly not Ncuti.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What a mess.
I mean, Russell could have just left the season 2 ending as is and, have them dancing in a club or have Doctor regenerate, but then not show Billy's face and left it more open-ended.
Yeah.
Oh, well, hindsight is,
Yeah. Oh, well.
Shall we move on to show and tell?
Yeah, shall we do that? Yeah. So I think you're due first.
So I finally read, or should I say listened to, Stephen Moffat's Target novelization of Day of the Doctor, some 8 years after it was published.
Cool.
Have you read?
No.
Okay.
No.
So it was performed by Nicholas Briggs. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
It gives a lot of insight into the plot of the special, and it makes me view it in a new light. The whole audiobook's about 7.5 hours long, and it features all sorts of additional scenes, extra characters, such as River Song plays an important role. Chapter 8, which kicks off the book, because all the chapters are in the wrong order too, novelizes Night of the Doctor and expands that minisode out greatly to 42 minutes of like a proper episode length.
Yeah.
And just a small tidbit from that chapter, of which there are thousands of little nuggets like this. Cass's gunship was shot down not by Daleks, but by Time Lords, because her ship was spoiling the view of a retreating Dalek fleet after an intense battle. So that helps explain why she's so anti-Time Lord and rejects the Doctor's offer for help.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because that is a bit odd, isn't it?
Yeah, Moffat's prose and just the introspection and depth that he adds to certain scenes is really, really good. And like, if I were reviewing it for the show, I would give it a 10 out of 10. It's okay. That good.
Okay.
Another like just small scene, like we get to see Kate Lethbridge Stewart both meeting the 4th Doctor for the first time as a child, but then also like a scene with her and Alistair, on his deathbed.
Oh, okay.
I still think the 3D version of the special is the best way to experience the story if you're fortunate enough to have like the proper 3D equipment because it's so immersive.
Yeah.
But I'd go so far as to say that the audiobook comes a close second, even ahead of watching the special flat in 2D. So
Okay.
there were parts where I literally got goosebumps listening to it. It was that good.
Ooh, okay, well, I'll have to bear that in mind because at the moment it is more pleasant to work in my office than it is to work at home. And so therefore I'm going to be using public transport a bit more until our heat wave comes to an end. So I may well give that a try in either audio or reading form.
And having like experienced it that way and then going back and rewatching the special, it's like... seeing it, you just get so much more insight into certain moments and stuff. And
yeah
he actually goes through like the scene of the three of them in the tower, dungeon or whatever. He goes through that 3 times in the book through each of their perspectives. And you see it from different. It's really, really well done.
Oh, that is really good. Yeah, because I remember I'd read The Three Doctors, and it was one of the first few Doctor Who books I'd read, and I found it very confusing figuring out which Doctor was which. Because if I remember rightly, I think Terrance Dicks just refers to him as the Doctor. Or there might have been the occasional context clue or something, but I was just like, yeah, so... Yeah.
Highly recommended. So
cool, excellent, good stuff.
how about for you?
How about for me? Well, I went to Wookiee Hole, which is a cave system in Somerset, and I also went to Wells Cathedral, and both of which have been used for filming Doctor Who and also the Masters of the Universe movie,
Which I saw in theaters twice. And it isn't quite as much of a box office bomb as people are saying.
No.
It's now past, I think, 104 million and counting in the worldwide box office. And
Yeah.
I mean, Amazon might greenlight a sequel or a follow-up TV show. So
Yeah.
fingers crossed.
And I think it's good fun. I would say the film is, it's quite campy, but it's delightful, and it's a way to spend some time in an air-conditioned building. So Wookiee Hole. So that was where Revenge of the Cybermen was filmed. Interestingly, our guide was very excited Doctor Who'd been filmed there because David Tennant has walked through here. I was like, in not a very good story. I mean, okay, sure, his first farewell, but yeah, it's a very atmospheric place, is the caves. I would say if you're going there with small children, just be a little bit mindful. There were some kids in our group, because you walk around with a guide you're not allowed to wander around the cave system on your own. You have to go with a guide. And there were these 2 kids who got freaked out by, there's like a light shows at various different caves, and they do play on the legend of the Witch of Wookiee Hole. And I told my guide about what had gone down with the filming of Revenge of the Cybermen.
Oh, with Elizabeth Sladen and the boat and stuff.
And the boat, yeah, and the fact that they'd mocked the witch, and that there was a ghost of a diver, apparently. So the guide was like, "Oh," so it's like, yeah, they may be reading up on that material,
Adding to their tour presentation, courtesy.
yes, because they also, I said, wasn't Masters of the Universe filmed here? And they said, "Oh yes, I always try to remember what that was. I was thinking it was Guardians of the Galaxy." It's like, no, I can see why you would think that, but
Yeah.
but no, it's very much not Guardians of the Galaxy. But I can see why you would say that. You're clearly not a science fiction person. Yeah, I would also say go on a weekday, or at least go on a quieter day, because the infrastructure makes me think that they get big queues. And I imagine it could get a little bit tedious if you're having to wait, like if you're in a large group or something. And Lauren did find it a bit claustrophobic at one point, but then again, we were in a cave system, and like you have to really bend down. But yeah, it was great. Wells Cathedral is stunning. So that was used in the great Doctor Who classic, The Lazarus Experiment.
Any insights from the guest book?
No, we couldn't find a guest book. No, there was no obvious guest book. But I think Wells Cathedral is a bigger deal than Brecon Cathedral is, which was where we'd seen Matt Smith's signature. Yeah, I don't think Idris Elba or David Tennant had signed the guest book.
Oh yeah, because they filmed some master scenes there as well.
Yes, they did. So the earlier sequences where there's a kind of like a big battle, that happens there. It's all lit in red in the movie, and at one point Tila runs down some steps that I ran down the previous weekend. Lauren elbowed me in the cinema. Just like, keep me down there, which was great. Wells is just delightful, really calming, beautiful place to go, which was more or less what I needed. We also went to Cheddar Gorge, which appeared in Jim Mortimer's Silurian book that I always forget the name of. Was it Bloodlines, Bloodharvest? Anyway, the
Bloodheat, yeah.
Bloodheat, that was it, yes. Cheddar Gorge is stunning. It's a gorge, as the name would suggest, and you drive through it, and in Lauren's words, you keep on driving through it, as it's a lot longer than she expected. If you don't think you've seen it, you may well have actually seen it on cinema type of things. If you've seen the end of 28 Years Later, the closing sequence is filmed in Cheddar Gorge.
I've only seen 28 Days Later. So
Yes, yeah. It's not your cup of tea.
No.
But listeners might have. So, it's a beautiful place, and it's very un-English because we don't really do canyon type things. Cool.
Shall we move on to...
Well, actually, before we go on, shall I just mark the fact that, Matt, we are about to come on to our 6th Prime Minister since we started the show.
Oh, yes. I saw something about the cat.
Larry. Larry.
Has outlived like the last 8 Prime Ministers or so.
7, I think. But yes, this is thought to be the first time that the country has been looking for a James Bond, a doctor, and a Prime Minister at the same time.
Well, to quote Harold Saxon, what we really need is a doctor right now.
Yes. Right. Shall we get on with the synopsis before I melt?
Yes, let's turn the clocks back some 22 years to May of 2004. Some 2 months before principal photography began on the Christopher Eccleston season, as the 11th Tiger was published.
Yeah.
And this was the 64th Past Doctor adventure out of 74 titles, so it came in around 87% of the way through the range. And interestingly, the First Doctor was underrepresented in that in the PDAs because only 8 of the 74 novels were set during his era, so about 10%. And of those Doctors, the 4th and 7th had the most and were a little overrepresented in the PDAs. So, written by David A. McIntee, presented as a First Doctor 6-parter with a prologue and epilogue labeled as Cutaways 1 and 2. For this TARDIS team, with the exception of Vicki, a geographic sequel to Marco Polo in a way.
Yeah.
And the episode titles are fantastic and really evocative of the era. So you've got the Executioners from Shaolin, The Dead and the Deadly, Warriors 2, Drunken Master, Prodigal Son, Last Hero in China. And the back cover tells us that this book's primarily set after the Opium Wars, but before the Boxer Rebellion, and right after the events of the Romans, despite the Romans flowing directly into the web planet.
Well, it's right after a visit to Rome.
True, but I don't know that.
So it's after a visit to Rome. It might have been a visit to Rome that we haven't seen on television.
Yeah, although Vicky's newer to the crew and the Doctor's recently missing Susan, so I'm going to say objection, assumes facts, not in evidence. And the book is dedicated in part to Yorkshire's Jaite School of Taekwondo,
which he was a member of. David McIntee. So I was reading an interview with him, so because Taekwondo is not something that's actually practiced or shown in the book, but
And in terms of like Ian and Barbara's relationship, this novel builds on some of the groundwork that McIntee laid in his earlier short story, Roman Cutaway, which we had previously recapped and reviewed in our More Short Trips episode.
Yeah.
So shall we...
let's get started.
All right. So China, 1863, we have 2 warrior monks and their abbot encountering a party of bandits who are sheltering from a storm in an underground cave system where mercury is impossibly flowing along the ceiling. And they end up doing battle with the leader of the bandits, whose name is Chang, and he refuses to give himself up for justice. And by the end of the fight, the monks are the only ones standing, and the strange power which then ripples through the mercury flows into the monks' bodies, causing their eyes to glow brightly. And as the remaining bandits flee from the cave in terror, Chang sees that a lunar eclipse is just ending. So who knew that Tooth and Claw wasn't the first appearance of martial arts wielding monks in Doctor Who?
Yes, quite. So 2 years later, a young man called Wong Fei Hung and his lover visit an abandoned temple near the mountain of Baiyong for a secret rendezvous, but they're frightened off when the TARDIS materializes before their eyes. The Doctor and his companions wait until morning to explore their surroundings, and the brisk walk soon takes them to the city of Guangzhou. Is it Guangzhou or Guangzhou? Guangzhou, I think. And just to give you a little bit of a sense as to where this is, if you're not particularly familiar with Chinese geography, we're down towards Hong Kong, so we're in the kind of like southern bit of China, or southeastern bit of China. So in the city, they're attracting hostile and suspicious glances, and they're assuming initially it's because they appear to be Western, but they stop in for lunch at an inn called the Hidden Panda, not the Hidden Dragon, Hidden Panda. And a drunken customer there accosts Ian, calling him Chesterton, and the customer and his friends begin to heavily beat up Ian to within an inch of his life.
And elsewhere, a British army major suffers a concussion while fighting off some bandits in the village of Quangling. And there's a Sergeant Major Anderson and a Captain Richard Logan who tend this major's injuries. And the major realizes he can no longer remember details about who he is.
Yeah.
And from the context, he gathers that he and his men arrived too late to prevent the bandits from razing the village to the ground, and the Quangling militia are angered by the British Army's failure to protect their Chinese subjects, I guess. And fearing that he'll be discharged if the full extent of his injuries are known, the major tries not to reveal that he's now suffering from partial amnesia.
So Fei Hung, who's the chap who had seen the TARDIS materialise, tells his father, Wang Ke-ying, about the strange incident at the temple. And Ke-ying, though he's sceptical about it, agrees to investigate. And unsure what to make about the TARDIS, Ke-ying decides to confer with Cheng, who's the owner of the Hidden Panda and the former bandit leader from the prologue. Cheng sometimes conducts black market deals with the British. And at the Hidden Panda Inn, the Wongs, the father and son, they discover the mob that are attacking Ian, and Ke-ying intervenes, though he's also heard bad things about this man Chesterton. Ian's unconscious and he's got several broken bones, but the Doctor recognises the Wongs from folk tales and accepts Ke-ying's offer to treat Ian's injuries at his surgery, which is called Po Chi Lam. So the Doctor, who's already been disturbed by this apparently unprovoked attack, is even more disturbed to learn that Ian has apparently already been in Guangzhou for over a year, and warns Ke-ying not to send Ian back to the British garrison on Zamian Island until the Doctor has learned more. So it's all a bit mysterious.
Yeah. And it's interesting, too, that like Ian and Barbara have been traveling for a couple of years from their perspective, which includes the several months they spent in Rome. So
yeah,
they're pretty experienced travelers at this point. So it's even more shocking that Ian's targeted this way and gets severely injured.
Yeah.
So Po Chi Lam is both a surgery and a kung fu school, and Ke-ying's deputy, Zhang, belongs to the Black Flag militia, as does Chang. But Chang is horrified when the new head of the local militia is revealed to be the abbot from the underground cavern from that prologue. The abbot then kills Li Fang, the former head of the militia, when Li Fang hesitates to obey an order. And the terrified Chang retreats to the Hidden Panda Inn after swearing undying loyalty to the abbot. The abbot orders Zhang to bring together all of the country's alchemists, priests, and astrologers, and to kill what he calls these false teachers who are supporting foreign invaders. And Zhang sees an opportunity to curry favor with the abbot and gain control of the Po Chi Lam school by ridding himself of the elder Wang Ke Ying.
So despite Ke Ying's best efforts, Ian's injuries have become infected, and the doctor gives Barbara the TARDIS key and tells her to fetch some more technologically advanced medical equipment than you have in kind of the 19th century. And Vicki offers to accompany her to see more of the city, but also as well, I think, just to kind of keep an eye on her. Because, like, shall we say, Barbara is not taking this well, but very understandably. And Ke Ying orders Fei Hung, so the son who saw the TARDIS, to escort them. Though Fei Hung is wary of travelling during Hualan Hit, which is the festival of hungry ghosts. On their way back to the temple, it begins to rain, and so they start to seek shelter. And this is where we get this month's dramatic reading, which is read for us by Alistair Stewart.
No relation to...
Lethbridge.
Yeah.
No relation as far as I'm aware. Though he has worked on Doctor Who. He has been Emmy nominated for his work on the Doctor Who RPG.
Oh, wow.
And you can also, if you go to alistairstewart.com, you can subscribe to The Full Lid, which is his weekly newsletter on pop culture. So, shall we have a listen?
Yeah.
There were only 2 doors. Fei Hung shone the lamplight through first one, then the other. "No snakes," he said, sounding surprised. "Is there any furniture?" Vicki asked. "Chairs or stools?" "No." He put the lamp on the floor near Vicki. "You were right," he said to Barbara. "This is a good place to wait out the rain." Barbara wished she could feel as patient about reaching the ship and getting the medical kit back to the doctor as she had been when she was out in the rain. "Are we far from the old temple?" The young man frowned in concentration. "Perhaps another half-mile, but the path leading to it will be on the other side of the road. That shouldn't take us long, once the rain has stopped." Barbara turned and went to lean against the door, looking out at the mini-deluge. Though she didn't like getting wet, she had always loved watching rain. It was such a fresh and natural thing, washing away the dirt and dust of the day, bringing life to trees and flowers and even the potatoes in the family allotment. Sometimes she would stand at her bedroom, imagining herself to be looking out at a storm from the wheelhouse of one of the steamers her father had helped to build. She had once wondered, setting an imaginary course to search for sunken treasure from the Armada, whether she could grow up to become a sea captain, but her father had told her that many sailors were superstitious and thought that women brought bad luck. Then, as she got older, she was more interested in the hows and whys of things like the Armada than she was in treasure. Now, in a deserted house in China, she found herself standing on an imaginary deck, perhaps of a sea-going junk plying between China, India, and far Araby. She tried to recall the tune of a sea shanty and hum it, but she couldn't quite get it right. The wrong notes kept insinuating themselves into her ears so that the humming sounded like the melody of the song they'd heard earlier. She realized that someone was actually humming the tune and turned to berate Fei Hung or Vicki for doing so. Her heart sprang for her throat with deadly intent and nearly knocked her over as she saw a woman in a silk tunic and long silk dress standing at the window, humming to herself. Barbara's strangled cry alerted Fei Hung, who leapt into a fighting stance, and Vicki, who cupped a hand over her own mouth to stifle a scream. The woman turned. She was pale and delicate, her skin the tone of a paper-thin china cup, nearly transparent in its fineness. "I like to watch the rain too," she said. Her voice was soft and distant, but carried quite clearly. "You startled us," Barbara said. "We didn't hear you come in." How could she have, without brushing past her, or, Barbara thought with a shiver, passing through her? "I didn't." Barbara immediately felt guilty as well as foolish. "I'm sorry. The door fell open and we called out. There was no answer. We only wanted to shelter from the rain." "That's all right." The woman smiled pleasantly. This isn't really my home anymore anyway. It used to be. Fei Hung stepped up beside Barbara and said in a low voice, I looked in both the other rooms. There was no one there, and no place for her to have been hidden. Barbara felt her insides tense again, just a little. A back door? None. Barbara swallowed hard. We heard singing earlier. The same tune you were just humming. Was that you? Yes, I sing to my beloved. He's dead now. I'm sorry. That's all right. He wouldn't have gone off to the army if I'd asked him to stay with me. Barbara felt an immediate sympathy. The poor girl was probably still in mourning for a man killed. If the song was a lament, that would explain its melody. Can't be your fault, she said. It was my fault for not telling him I love him and for not luring him to marriage. He'd still be alive then, and I'd still be a lover. The woman looked around. The house would not be so cold and empty. Barbara, chilled and touched, couldn't help looking round as well to better empathize with this story. She regretted it immediately because the table, chairs, ornaments and platters of food would have been so enticing if they had been there even a moment ago. Now the smell of a large spicy repast filled the room bright with the light of many candles, and Vicki was knocking over a chair as she ran for the door. Fei Hung was chanting something and keeping his guard up as he physically shoved Barbara outside. Fei Hung cursed himself and the Guilo women. He had known the house would be haunted, known it in his heart and in his bones, and he should never have let them shelter there. Run, he said, pushing Barbara ahead. Neither she nor Vicki needed to be told twice, and Fei Hung hoped the ghosts would not pursue them.
Thanks, Alistair, for reading that.
Yes.
And listeners will include a link to his website in the show notes with links to his various writings and podcasts and such.
Yes, I thought that was a really effective scene. And also, I don't think I was expecting it to go quite as supernaturally as it did.
But there is a scientific explanation, dear listener, sort of.
Yeah. But still. And also as well, Alistair and I are in complete agreement as to who should be the next Doctor. Which is George Fouracres from SNL UK. So if you don't know who that is, go and have a look at 45 seconds of Fouracres or 45 more seconds of Fouracres, and yes, you will then kind of go, oh, okay. Or you might go, Chris and Alistair, you're both crazy, but he'll be great. It's to the point where I'm confidently expecting he will be part of it. Also, Dresses Entertainment have tipped him as well. But anyway, right, shall we get back to the narrative? Let's get back to the narrative. So they're running from the bungalow, Barbara, Vicki and Fei Hung, and they don't stop until they've reached the TARDIS.
And yeah, one of the things like Barbara is able to fetch from the TARDIS is like a bone knitter, so that'll help, definitely help Ian with his injuries. So in the British barracks on Zamian Island, Captain Logan reports to the injured major, who tries not to reveal the extent of his injuries. And the recent bandit attacks have increased in strength and are too well organized to be random. But Captain Logan believes that the Black Flag are interested only in overthrowing the Manchu dynasty and are not responsible for these violent attacks on ordinary villages. Zhang then arrives and claims that Wang Kaiying is holding a group of European travelers against their will at his school Po Chi Lam, and the soldiers set off to investigate. And Chang has been trading black market vodka to Sergeant Major Anderson for ammunition, kind of under the table, and thus learns of the soldiers' intentions in time to warn Kaiying. And so he's kind of being set up there.
Yeah.
And the doctor offers to speak on Kaiying's behalf, but Kaiying, fearing that the situation will become worse if the soldiers see the gravely wounded Ian, advised the doctor to remain hidden, lest he be regarded as a traitor. And the doctor hides in the school and watches as the soldiers arrive, and though Kaiying offers up an explanation, it's an unbelievable one, for Kaiying claims to have been treating the major himself, who spent the last night in the barracks on Zamian Island, because this major who lost his memory appears to be an older version of Ian Chesterton.
Dun dun dun. So Major Chesterton has little choice but to arrest Kai Ying, but does allow him to make preparations so that his surgery, Po Chi Lam, can function without him. And Kai Ying seems suspicious and doesn't believe that Zhang is ready to run Po Chi Lam. He thus asks the doctor to take charge of the surgery until his return, whilst Kai Ying's son deals with the Kung Fu school. And this does not go down well with Zhang, who angrily challenges the doctor to fight a duel with him, as is traditional, because if he is going to, in fact, become the master of Po Chi Lam, he must prove his worthiness.
And so Barbara returns with the medical equipment from the TARDIS, and the doctor's able to heal Ian's injuries. However, he refuses to leave the school until the business of Kai Ying's false arrest is sorted out. The doctor rejects Ian's offer to fight the duel on his behalf, and the doctor seems to be looking forward to it. But he's also concerned by the presence of this older Chesterton, because it seems that Ian might return to this era in his own personal future. But if that's the case, what has become of the older Dr. Barbara and Vicki? The doctor's also intrigued when Barbara and Vicki claim to have seen a ghost in that hut, and they suggest that they observed a stone tape effect, which is where mental impressions are recorded in the architecture of the minerals of a building, much the same way that sounds can be recorded on magnetic tape.
Yeah, the stone tapes is... was it a film or TV series? It's only
TV in the 70s, yeah.
Yes, in the 70s, yes. That you often hear people talking about on dark nights. So particularly in the circles that Lauren moves in. So Fei Hung, so the son of Kai Ying, visits Cheng, who is the guy who sort of runs the pub and had been a bandit, to reschedule the Black Flag training classes whilst Fei Hung's father is in prison. And Fei Hung finds Cheng and his bouncer Pang trying to decide what to do about the possessed monks. And from Cheng's drunken explanations, Fei Hung gathers that Zhang has challenged the doctor to gain power within the Black Flag. And meanwhile, Zhang reports to the abbot, whose eyes glow with an inner light, when Zhang claims that a stranger called the Doctor has arrived at Po Chi Lam, accompanied by foreigners in strange clothing, and the abbot orders Zhang to kill the Doctor, which is intriguing. One thing I just wanted to say briefly about Black Flag, because I looked into this, and this is a kind of like a real organisation that I think made its presence felt more in Vietnam. They started out in China, but went into Vietnam round about this period. So, they were eventually disbanded after about 20 years. They spent a lot of time fighting French forces in Vietnam, and so there's quite a few interesting entries on Wikipedia, etc. about them. So, if you're intrigued, there's quite a bit of further reading, I think, all told for this book. But anyway, we'll carry on with telling the story.
So Major Chesterton, even though he's had to arrest Kai Ying, nevertheless senses that Kai Ying's an honorable man and asks why he's been regarded with such hostility. And Kai Ying explains that his people believe the British are not doing all they can to protect them from these frequent bandit attacks. And the doctor arrives to visit Kai Ying in the prison and speaks with Major Chesterton, but is disappointed to learn that the Major recently suffered from a concussion and can't remember much of his past. The doctor's able to supply Chesterton with some herbs which will ease his pain and promises to keep his secret. And indeed, Chesterton's memories slowly begin to return as his concussion subsides. Meanwhile, Ian recovers his strength and accompanies Barbara to the bungalow where she saw the ghost. And there, Barbara and Ian have a bit of a romantic scene, and Barbara admits to Ian that she loves him.
Yeah.
And this is where I kind of felt like it was building on McIntee's earlier work, where that short story in the Romans.
Yeah. Well, and also as well, like Barbara has come very close to losing him. I thought sometimes when you have developments like this with regulars, you might kind of think, oh, you're shoehorning something in that wasn't there, etc. But like, it's pretty much there on telly, but it also feels earned, I think, for me in the context of this story. So The abbot's army seizes a small fishing village and burns its Buddhist temple to the ground. And the abbot has two generals, Zhao and Gao. Unfortunately, my Chinese pronunciation is not what it could be, so I will try and keep those clear for you. But yeah, so the two generals bring 3 astrologers before the abbot, who orders them to calculate the precise date and time of a forthcoming conjunction in the stars. And one of the astrologers, Ko, catches a glimpse of the abbot and Zhao and Gao standing together, and sees an unearthly light streaming in and out of their eyes and mouths. And he tries to flee, but one of the generals, Zhao, pursues him and incinerates him with a blast of light from his hand.
And with the kind of the light beams coming out of their eyes, I kept thinking that this perhaps was a sequel to Talons of Wang Chiang, or something like that.
Yeah. Well, he's already written a sequel to. He's written The Shadows of Wang Chiang. But yes.
Yeah. So back at the school, Pochi Lam, it continues to run smoothly under the doctor's guidance, but soon the time comes for his appointed duel with Zhang, who is challenging him. And despite the reservations of the doctor's traveling companions, the doctor stands back and accepts the challenge on his own. And as the doctor predicted, the arrogant Zhang is unprepared for the doctor's way of fighting. The doctor uses his body as a fulcrum to divert Zhang's direct attacks. And I was almost getting like Yoda vibes from the doctor here.
Yes, but it seems less ludicrous than when Yoda does fighting in some of the Star Wars prequels, at least to my eyes.
Oh yeah, he's not flipping and stuff. He's just using very small movements and leveraging.
Very careful, precise movements. Yeah.
And so at a crucial moment, the doctor ducks aside from a devastating kick, and Zhang sprains his foot against a thick wooden support beam and loses the duel. Zhang flees, or rather kind of hobbles away, and reports his failure to the abbot, who then orders Zhang to tell him what he, the man who the abbot believes himself to be, looked like in life. When Zhang gives the abbot the answer he thinks that the abbot is expecting, rather than the truth, the abbot blasts him down with a bolt of lightning from his hand and leaves him to die slowly.
So Cheng, who's the landlord of the inn and is up to his neck in black flag type stuff, asks Anderson for permission to speak with Kai Ying, and eventually must admit that there's a bit of a split brewing within the Black Flag. And Anderson has Cheng tell his story to Major Chesterton, which he does, but he kind of skips over some of the more, shall I say, unusual details about the abbot. And Logan points out that Cheng's story might explain why Zhang turned in on his own master, and Major Chesterton thus agrees to let Kai Ying write letters summoning the 8 surviving tigers of Kwantung together to face this threat. And so once Kai Ying has done this, Major Chesterton releases him, now believing that Zhang's story was nothing but lies.
And these 10 tigers of Kwangtung or Canton, I guess.
Yes, as people came to know it. Yes, yeah.
Reminded me a bit of the 10 rings in Shang-Chi, the Marvel film.
Yes, I think that is a very deliberate thing, because the 10 tigers is a thing in mythology, and so the 10 rings is playing on that.
And I think the 11th Tiger, the titular additional member of this team, I think is the Doctor, given his prowess with his...
Yes.
So as the staff and students of Pochi Lam celebrate Kai Ying's return, Chang tells the story once more, and this time tells him everything, including all the details that he had left out previously.
Yeah.
And disturbed, the Doctor visits the British garrison to use their telescope, and Ian accompanies them, despite the Doctor's concern that Ian might accidentally come in contact with his older self. So the Blinovitch limitation effect.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny because that was, in Modern Undead, which Ian was actually supposed to be in.
Yes, 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 until William Russell got another gig. Yes. And that would have made more sense, wouldn't
A
it?
lot more, yeah. That is one of the biggest missed opportunities, I think, of classic Who there. So the other British soldiers assume that Ian is Major Chesterton's younger brother, because Major Chesterton does look to be about 10 years older. And the Doctor, meanwhile, determines that the Earth is about to enter a particular stellar conjunction for the first time in nearly 2,000 years.
So the abbot hears that Major Chesterton's brother has arrived in Guangzhou and decides to get rid of Major Chesterton by kidnapping Barbara and using her as leverage to make Ian kill the Major. And 4 cloaked figures attack Po Chi Lam, the surgery, and they manage to capture Barbara and Vicki, easily defeating the surgery's defenders, including 2 of the Tigers who've just arrived, Iron Bridge Free and Tam Chai Wen. And these are people who have appeared in various movies and stuff. So basically, if you're unfamiliar with the concept of the kind of the 10 Tigers, if you're thinking Avengers, you're not far off. So Iron Bridge Free and Tam Chai Wen's blows have had no effect on the attackers, who seem to be wearing some form of armour. And the Doctor and Ian arrive too late to help. But the Doctor works out that the abbot was responsible, and so therefore there's nothing really that he or Ian can do until they hear from the kidnappers. And so the Doctor continues his investigation into the recent bandit attacks and concludes that the army has been attacking monasteries and other sacred locations. And this year, even for the Hualan Yit, which is this time of ghosts, there's been an extraordinary number of ghost sightings, such as Barbara's.
And the Doctor demonstrates the nature of the threat to his friends, using various lenses to refract and focus a beam of sunlight on a specific area of a grapefruit where he had charted out all the continents of Earth. And in much the same way, alien intelligences far from Earth require certain stellar conjunctions to generate influence on Earth. The Doctor calculates that the focus of the alien transmission will be the sacred mountain of Zhan, and indeed Kai Yang and Major Chesterton have plotted the bandit attacks backwards to determine this is where the abbot first began his mysterious and violent crusade. Around here there's a mention of a helix.
Well, shall we put a pin in that, and we can talk about that later?
Yeah.
So Barbara and Vicki are brought before the abbot, who identifies himself as Qin Shi Huangdi, who was the first emperor of China, which is all the more remarkable because he died over 2,000 years prior. And Quinn, the abbot, claims that he and his 2 most trusted generals survived the death of their bodies and have been reborn. But Barbara fears that this guy's just a madman who's believing himself to be the emperor. Privately, however, Quinn has been suffering from doubts because he's finding his own memories to be unreliable. And when he asks Barbara what he used to look like, she answers honestly despite the risk of offending him. And he decides to let her live, though he regards Vicki as still being expendable. And meanwhile, one of his generals, Gao, visits Po Chi Lam and delivers a warning to Ian. If Ian doesn't kill Major Chesterton by the end of the day tomorrow, Barbara is going to be killed. So the Doctor takes this warning as a good sign. So firstly, that he and his friends pose a legitimate threat to the abbot, and secondly, that Barbara and Vicki are still alive. I guess in a situation like that, you have to look for the positives.
And while Vicky's locked up, she daydreams a little bit about her father, Lieutenant Commander Pallister of the Merchant Space Marines. And so Vicki first gets this surname Pallister in the novel Byzantium, which was by Keith Topping. I think that was published in 2001.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool that David McIntee picks up on that and cements that, Vicky's last name is Pallister here.
Yeah.
And Vicki and Barbara overhear the plan about forcing Ian to kill Major Chesterton. And I thought it was really insightful of the author to have Vicki so Vicki was remembering, her crash ship on Dido and how she wasn't sure if she could kill Bennett, the man who had stranded them there and had killed her father. And Vicki says this line, quote, "It was too late to find out whether I'd have the courage to take revenge or the courage not to. I don't think I'd have liked myself much either way, so I'm glad I didn't have to choose."
Yeah.
So some decent, I think, building of Vicky's backstory in this section of the book.
Yeah.
So Vicki and Barbara privately discuss the abbot's, what they view as kind of an insane claim, and wonder if Quinn somehow recorded his mind into a stone tape, such as the doctor mentioned earlier. And Quinn overhears them speaking, but as he confronts them, his eyes start glowing with light, and an alien voice speaks through his mouth, which identifies Barbara as a time traveler, and offers her dominion over the world if she agrees to serve this alien force.
So Quinn then returns to normal and speaks privately with Barbara, confessing that his resurrection isn't quite as he'd expected. So disturbed by all this, he sends her back to her cell. Barbara there tricks the guard, allowing Vicki to escape. Quinn is furious, particularly when Barbara speaks of a son of Quinn that Quinn had forgotten. So perhaps he's not Quinn at all, but maybe a poor copy of the real man's memories. Before Quinn can order his generals to kill Barbara for putting these doubts in his mind, the alien force takes full possession of him and stops him from doing so. And the two surviving astrologers then complete their work and inform Quinn that the star alignment will begin shortly. So Quinn and his generals fire bolts of light from their hands, splitting a kind of hole that enables Quinn to walk through to the other side, taking Barbara with him.
Yeah, like a travel portal, sort of.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing, isn't it? Yeah. A bit like in Doctor Strange, I guess.
Or Masters of the Universe.
Oh, yes, or Masters of the Universe, yes.
So Vicki evades Quinn's soldiers and returns to Pochilam, the school/hospital, with the help of Sohat Yi, who's another of the 10 Tigers.
Yes.
And there she tells the story to the others, and the British agree to join forces with the Tigers against this strange abbot and his amassing army. And Fai Hung offers to scout out the village before the attack, but finds it completely deserted, apart from the two generals, Zhao and Gao, who are lying in wait at the monastery. Fai Hung does battle with him, and this is a pretty incredible battle, I have to say. Like, just as Fai Hung thinks he's bested these two generals, the generals, I guess, cheat a little bit by firing bolts of lightning from their hands, and Fai Hung evades this attack, and Zhao accidentally strikes Gao, burning his face off. And Fai Hung grabs Gao's sword and pierces Zhao's hand into a tree just as he fires another bolt, and all the alien energy in Zhao's body is grounded through the steel in the sword, basically frying off his arm.
Yeah.
And Zhao collapses, and Gao, still moving despite his horrific injuries, opens up another portal in the air and flees.
Yeah.
The fight with the two generals was epic. Like, you're talking lightning bolts and frying hands and all sorts of things.
If you're liking the sound of Fai Hung and you're wanting to kind of think, oh, has he been in movies? So yes, he's been played by Jet Li in the Once Upon a Time in China series. I don't know how much there's been of kind of possessed monks in Once Upon a Time in China. I haven't seen it, but certainly. I think that gives you a sense of the kind of like the scale of the mythical figures that we're dealing with in this book. So this particular person, there's actual photographs of Fai Hung. So Fai Hung was a real person, but quite a few of the other people who are amongst the 10 Tigers, we don't know when they were, when they were born or when they died.
Mm. So something to perhaps watch during the hiatus, as it's now kind of a sort of spin-off.
Yes. Watch all the Jet Li movies. So General Zhao has recovered by the time the Doctor and his friends arrive. He claims to be a monk called Yong, and remembers nothing after fighting the bandits in an underground cave. And so the Doctor and Kai Ying mix a potion that sends Young into a hypnotic trance and determine that he still retains some memories of his possession. And the Doctor puts together what he's learned and deduces that Quinn tried to become immortal by recording his personality in a stone tape, and thus transforming himself into kind of like an executable program, which is now running in the Abbot's brain. The book starts talking about artificial intelligence, I think, right about this point. And I go, oh, hello.
Very timely.
Yes, and the Quinn program has been rewritten by an alien force, which is now using him and his generals as pawns to pave the way for an invasion.
And from Ian's perspective, all considerations other than Barbara's safety are secondary, and he comes to the difficult decision that he has to kill his older self in order to ensure that Barbara lives. And I don't know whether I agree with that conclusion or not, or if it's true to Ian's character, but we'll go with it for the sake of the narrative here. And by the time the Doctor realizes that Ian is gone, it's nearly too late. And when he learns that Major Chesterton's first name is actually William and not Ian, he realizes he's made a terrible mistake. And fortunately, he and his friends make it back to the island before Ian gets there. And when the Doctor catches a glimpse of Gao watching the proceedings, he decides to feed him misinformation by arranging for a soldier to stop Ian at the gate, mistaking him for Major Chesterton, and presenting him with a pistol, conveniently, which Ian then uses on the real Major once he emerges from his quarters and is in like the yard of the base.
Yeah.
And Ian fires at the Major, and the Major collapses from presumably the bullets. And Gao retreats satisfied and unaware that the pistol was loaded with blanks and that Major Chesterton was in on the charade. And the Doctor then informs Ian of the Major's real identity, and Ian learns that he nearly killed his own great-grandfather. So talk about a grandfather paradox.
Yes, yeah. Well, yeah, though Ian kind of guesses, doesn't he? I think. I mean, does Ian actually 100% learn that it's his great-grandfather?
I think so. I think Ian knows. Ian knows like it was his family lineage and stuff. But
okay, fine. So, did that come as did it come as a surprise to you, or were you thinking that Major Chesterton was Ian?
Well, at first, I thought the future Ian storyline was a bit too similar to the Jim Mortimer short story that we read in Decalogue, called The Book of Shadows in Egypt with a future Barbara. And at first I was thinking, oh, is David McIntee just like forgetting that he probably read that and is like basing a whole book around it? So I was actually relieved when it turned out not to be the case.
Yeah, yeah.
But I did think that it was like a future Ian and something timey-wimey had happened.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Oh, cool. That's good. Because I'd accidentally had it spoilt for me that there was a Major William Chesterton in this. So it's just interesting for me to know that worked.
Yeah, it fooled me.
Yeah. Cool. That's good.
Ian's motivations for killing himself didn't necessarily convince me, but yeah, that bit did.
He's been having a traumatic time of it. And I was also just thinking back to, was it Face of the Enemy, which was the first McIntee book that we read, and which Ian and Barbara also have a traumatic time. And so, yeah, Ian is, in McIntee books, does find himself resorting to violence or finding himself getting very close to it. And yeah, is that in character? I can see him being pushed to it, but it's just interesting that he's the only writer, McIntee's the only writer I can think of in which Ian
depicted that way.
Yeah.
Well, he was also severely beaten, so maybe he was still suffering from.
He's been having a bad time. He's been having a very bad time. So Quinn's army has gathered outside the Emperor's tomb, which is the cavern that Cheng and his bandits had stumbled into 2 years ago, right at the start of all this. And Quinn believes that Ian has carried out his orders. So whilst he's got no further need of Barbara, he doesn't kill her, which is presumably because the alien force still has need of her, or maybe some part of him needs her approval and understanding.
And they make a big deal of her being a time traveler, so maybe it's the Artron energy she soaked up or something. Who knows?
Yeah. And inside the tomb, Quinn shows Barbara his own burial chamber and the army of terracotta warriors, which will do his bidding throughout the land. And it turns out that Barbara had been kidnapped from Pochi Land by 4 of the terracotta warriors that had already been animated. And so that's why they couldn't be destroyed by the 10 tigers.
And this is well before the tomb was unearthed. I think that was in like 1974, the 8,000 or so terracotta warriors.
Yeah.
And so Barbara's not really aware of that piece of it.
No.
Coincidentally enough, 1974 was also the year that the song Kung Fu Fighting came out, which Ian and Barbara quote. And
oh, yes!
It's like,
They do, which snapped me out of it.
It did, yeah.
But maybe they've spent time in sort of like in the future. But it's the sort of thing I can imagine the 10th Doctor sort of like suddenly quoting Kung Fu Fighting rather than Ian and Barbara.
Apparently in the acknowledgements, David hints that we have Keith Topping to thank for keeping that joke in.
Yeah, thank you, Keith. Yes, another great legacy. Right.
So the Doctor calculates that more alien energy will be transmitted to Earth at the moment of the total lunar eclipse as seen from the summit of Mount Zion. And those who haven't seen the unearthly monks remain skeptical of the Doctor's wilder claims, but agree that the abbot poses a threat, and therefore the 10 Tigers will take the Black Flag troops on maneuvers near the villages controlled by the abbot's army, while the Doctor deals directly with Quinn himself. And the Doctor must get to the mountain before the conjunction, and Vicki suggests tapping into the possessed monk's ability to travel instantaneously across great distances. So the Doctor's able to hypnotize Jung again, finding that the formerly possessed monk still retains that ability. So this is one of the generals who they've captured, or depossessed, I guess, and is able to create a portal to transport himself and his friends and a small contingent to the mountain underground chamber.
Yeah. So the Doctor now has enough information to work out what Quinn has been doing. As the British and the Tigers have been unable to kind of determine the logic behind his attacks, because he hasn't been seizing political targets, but instead sacred sites where the alien energy is going to be absorbed into the land itself by the stone tape effect. And the ghost sightings have been caused by some of the alien energy leaking out of the system. And so when the full alien power floods through the network that Quinn has created, it will be as if all of China has become a formatted disk running an alien program. What a early noughties explanation. But I was reading this, quite a bit of this whilst I was in Wales and Wookey Hall, and in particular in Glastonbury, where there's lots of talk of stone tapes and ley lines and things. And so they're like, oh yeah, okay, fine. This seems to be in keeping with where I am.
And I'm sure if it was written now, it would have been uploaded into a cloud and do like storm cloud analogies. And so Ian points out that the servants who constructed the Emperor's tomb must have needed fresh water, and that the water table must be buried but accessible. And if they can find it, they could flood the complex and perhaps short out the alien energy in this sort of Mercury circuit board. But before the Doctor's allies can start, a beam of alien energy roars out of the sky and tunnels into the mountain, and the Doctor realizes he's forgotten to take the changeover from the Julian to the Gregorian calendars into account in his calculations, which would have thrown it off by 11 days, not a matter of hours. But also a missing faction paradox is hiding in that spot too. So. But the conjunction has come earlier than expected, and it catches them all unprepared, so they have to hustle. I mean, I still think it's quite a fun thing, even if it possibly doesn't make as much sense as it thinks it does. But the Doctor enters the tomb to distract Quinn, while Major Cheston and his men set to work. And the alien plasma, this energy, is pouring into sort of the cavern of kind of like jewels and mercury where the monks have been possessed. And there's a helix of energy
waiting to be beamed out across the whole of China. And this energy brings 8,000 terracotta warriors to life. And whilst the human soldiers are kind of like fighting off these attackers, these warriors, Logan and Fei Hung track down the hidden water table, and they plant some explosives and blow open the barrier, flooding the tombs with water. And the British soldiers' guns and swords have no effect on these terracotta statues. However, Ian finds an abandoned sledgehammer that's been left over from the tomb's construction and uses it to smash one of the terracotta warriors into shards. And so the soldiers just start deciding to kind of use their rifle butts on their enemies.
It was like shattering clay pots.
Yeah. And in the course of the fighting, Vicki notices Logan's reaction when Major Cheston's life is threatened and realises what Logan's true feelings for the Major must be.
Yeah, so a bit of a reveal that Captain Logan either has a crush on, I would say, like a crush on Major Chesterton, because the book describes him as gazing upon him like Barbara looks at Ian.
Yes. So, yeah, I think there's an element of attraction there, I would say, definitely.
Whether it's reciprocated or not, the book doesn't say.
No, indeed.
So the Doctor confronts Quinn in the Emperor's old burial chamber, which is being reconstructed from the ruins by the alien plasma, and the Doctor dismisses Quinn as a mere copy of a dead Emperor's memories, and as Quinn protests, the alien forces dispose of him and speak directly to the Doctor through the Abbot's mouth. Though the Doctor isn't aware of it, he has defeated the Helix once before, nearly 400 years ago, and now it will make him and Barbara its puppets. So I guess it does serve as a sequel / prequel of sorts to of the Mask of Mandragora.
Yes.
But as the Abbot and Gao try to force the Doctor and Barbara into the stream of the alien plasma, water floods into the tomb, and Ian and Fei Hung arrive to defend their friends. And as the chamber floods with the water, the Emperor Quinn's mind regains some control of the Abbot's body, and realizing he's been used as a pawn by a force which intends to conquer his beloved empire, Quinn deliberately steps into the water, shorting out the alien plasma within the tomb.
Outside, the British soldiers emerge from the tomb to find themselves facing an entire army of the terracotta warriors who've been attacking Quinn's human followers, possibly for practice. And before the warriors can attack the British, Quinn shorts out the plasma stream and the terracotta army collapses. So inside the tomb, Abbot Wu recovers with no memory of anything that happened to him after his battle with the bandits. With the alien evil having been defeated, the Doctor and his friends return to Guangzhou. On the way, Barbara asks Ian to marry her, and he accepts. And I quite like that. In fact, it's that way around.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll get married once they return to London. So the Doctor and his friends remain in Guangzhou for the wedding of Fei Hung and his partner, and then they depart in the TARDIS for adventures elsewhere.
On a web planet.
Yeah, potentially. Maybe they go back to Rome.
Yeah, maybe he hits the fast return switch.
Yeah, they go back to Rome. They have some more adventures in Rome. Right, so what did you make of the 11th Tiger?
I enjoyed it. My familiarity of Chinese history is not that extensive. It includes the Boxer Rebellion episodes of Buffy and Angel and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and Doctor Who's Marco Polo. So I wasn't picking up on a lot of the Jet Li film series and stuff.
Yeah.
And, I feel like it's always fun to read a novel that incorporates other interests outside of Doctor Who, and kind of you're able to show off other specialty subjects that you might have.
Yes.
So I'm taking it on a lot of faith, that this is accurate, at least to his Western lens understanding of the source material.
Yes, it's an interesting point, isn't it? Because it's fascinating to see another culture on Earth, and like the TARDIS arrive in a place that is different from kind of like where it normally arrives, which tends to be kind of like the UK or kind of like occasionally English-speaking countries or Europe. But we are seeing it through, we see quite a few kind of like British troops. And yeah, I do wonder whether nowadays the show would be a little bit more kind of like questioning, I think, of the actions of the British troops and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not portrayed as being, life is absolutely fantastic under the British, but it's also as well like, it's not a period of history that I know an enormous amount about, but I was kind of linking on a couple of occasions. You do see some aspects of racism amongst the soldiers, but I did slightly wonder at times if things were being sugar-coated.
Yeah, I wish there was maybe a little bit more pointed commentary on the British Empire's expansionism and colonialism.
Yeah.
We get a touch of it when Major Chesterton is thinking back to his time in India, but there further parallels and some commentary could be drawn there.
Yes.
It could have also been a good time to perhaps comment on Hong Kong and the handover to China, because I mean that occurred some 5 years prior to the publication of the book.
Yeah. Though McIntee, he's either written by this point or goes on to write a book specifically about the handover.
Oh.
Featuring the Seventh Doctor and Sarah Jane.
Is that Bullet Time?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, I haven't read that one yet.
No. So...
Yeah, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, despite not having a lot of familiarity with the setting or the time period, I thought the Abbot was a good and very nasty villain. It did feel like a proper adventure and more like one of the, especially common among the first Doctor era, when you look at like Marco Polo or the Romans, where you have an adventure taking place over a period of months. It feels more like a travel log, and they get it's more experiential, I guess, than like a short visit.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, as I say, it's refreshing to be reading a book in a kind of like in an unfamiliar, certainly to Doctor Who setting, and I also like the fact that we don't know for sure whether it is the Mandragora Helix or not. I mean, I think it is, and from what I understand, in a later book, it is pretty much confirmed that it is. But I do like the fact that there's a bit of a, what is this? Because like, as I was reading it, I was wondering actually whether this was going to be an early Master story.
And I was wondering if we were perhaps going to get like a pure historical or something along those lines, like in the initial bits. But then you have monks getting possessed and like mercury flowing on the ceiling and ghosts, and I was like, okay, it's not a pure historical.
Yeah, but also as well, there's a possibility it could have been like the Great Intelligence.
Yeah,
and I'm glad that it's not. I'm glad that we have gone for something different. Yeah, it's a good fun book. It's worth reading, and I'm really glad that I've read it.
Yeah.
There's that joke that like quite a few Doctor Who fans learn about history through the programme, and I think I'd known of the 10 Tigers, but I didn't know that much of them. Yeah, I'm interested to find out more, and I have been reading up more about the Black Flag. It certainly works on that score.
And that was part of Doctor Who's educational remit, especially during this time with the first Doctor era. So
yeah,
and in terms of like all the characterizations of our main characters are all, spot on. I think except for me, I guess, with whether Ian would have really killed his future self.
Yeah,
but I liked it. I learned a new word reading this.
Oh, okay.
Sepulchral.
Oh, yes.
Which refers to things related to a tomb, grave, or burial.
Yes.
Which I was unfamiliar with that word. I had to go look it up.
Yes.
There's a fun moment where the Doctor picks up and starts wearing a Panama-style hat, which I wonder if it's the one he later wears in the Daleks' master plan. So a potential throw forward there.
Yes.
Some good lamenting about, Susan's absence.
Yeah, there's good character building, yeah.
We learn Ian and Barbara have separate rooms in the TARDIS. They're not sharing a room at this point.
Yeah.
They seem a bit traditional in that respect, I think.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, there's good character building.
Yeah.
But as you were saying earlier, we learned quite a bit about Vicki even if Vicki is possibly the character who has the least to do, we still go away with more of an understanding of what makes her tick, or at least like what happened to her in the build up to the rescue.
Yeah.
And how kind of like the rescue was still quite a traumatizing event for her, which obviously it would have been. So
I'm still waiting for the scene where Vicki has a go at Barbara for killing Sandy.
yeah, well. So, what are you going to score this one then, Matt?
I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10. It felt like a proper adventure of the era. It had some timey-wimey bits, some potential connections to future Doctor Who lore. It felt like I went on a travelogue to China.
Yeah.
It was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
Yeah, I was going to go for 8, so I'll go for 8. Yeah, 8 out of 10. Yeah, a good fun read, and I would say it's kind of like worth tracking down. But I would be particularly keen to hear from people who are more familiar with the 10 Tigers as to kind of like to what extent the book is faithful to how, you know, the Tigers are presented. I mean, I got a bit of like a sense of character of the different ones, but but it would be interesting to know.
Very cool.
Cool. Excellent.
Shall we move on to listener feedback?
Yeah, let's.
All right. Well, as a reminder, folks, you can contact us at andwbcpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Or contact us on our social media.
Mm-hmm. So nothing on the metaverse for us, but how about in the blue sphered section of social media?
Yeah, we've got a couple of comments here. So we've heard from Wolfman Jack about our Fugitive Doctor Origins and Master Plan episode.
Cool.
And he writes that Jodie Hauser is a delight. He strongly recommends her DC Comics series Mother Panic, and also says that how she plays with the Batman characters and their whole world is electrifying.
Oh, okay.
However, he said neither story that we reviewed did much for him, but to be positive, he'll highlight that the fantastically understated and thankfully unexplained moment with the Child Master and the War Doctor was quite poignant, which we didn't mention in our review, but he says the random incomprehensibility always makes him smile. The last great time war is utterly impossible to comprehend from the outside. And what must have been a bizarre and oddly personal moment for both characters, so I think it's the War Doctor sitting across from the Master as a child, is just lost. And he loves that. Calls it eerie and fantastic and a cool moment, and says, great work as always.
Cool. Excellent.
We also heard from the Fantasy Bookworm, who says of our episode Trace Memory, Torchwood episode, that they really enjoyed this one, especially how the story gradually reveals itself like a puzzle box. And while it's a little confusing to read at times with all the time jumping back and forth, they believe it's intentional to an extent, and it puts you in Michael's head and makes you feel his disorientation.
Yeah, I'd say. Yeah.
But yeah, listeners, if you have any knowledge about Chinese culture or what we've read this month, please do chime in and share your thoughts.
Yes.
Be most interested to hear them.
Yes. Yeah. Right. I think we've now reached the stage in proceedings where you tell us what we're going to be reading next month, Matt.
It is about that time. And it's time for a little timeline whiplash, because we're going to go from the original Doctor to the most recent.
Billy Piper.
Almost most recent. As we welcome the 15th Doctor and his era to the book club.
Cool.
And where to start? How about the first original novel featuring Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor?
Excellent.
As we read Ruby Red by Georgia Cook.
Oh,
and
cool.
Hopefully it's a little more accessible.
Yes.
Because the 11th Tiger goes for quite a sum online these days. And Ruby Red was first published in June of 2024, so just over 2 years ago.
Okay, yeah.
And it's available in hardcover, digitally, and also read as an unabridged audiobook by Millie Gibson.
Cool. Excellent.
So that'll be our book for August.
Good stuff. Yeah.
And until then, hope everyone stays cool.
Yes. Yes, so do I. I hope I stay cool. It would be nice to not melt. This is where I say words. I'm trying to conjure what those words are. Those words are happy reading, stay safe, and if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, please, please stay cool.
And until next month, this has been Matt in Minnesota.
And Chris in South London. Bye!
Thank you for listening to the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. Special thanks to George C. Music for use of their song Doctor Who Theme Swing Jazz Version. You can follow us on Twitter at ANDWBC Podcast and like us on Facebook. Help other listeners to find us by leaving a rating or review on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice. You can contact the show by emailing your thoughts to andwbcpodcast@gmail.com. And until next month, happy reading.
We are hoping at some point today to go and see Supergirl and therefore spend time in a building with aircon.
With Supergirl, I saw it Wednesday night.
Oh, yes.
I prefer the 1984 version,
Ooh.
even though I did enjoy this one.
Okay.
But the 1984 one is one of my favorite movies just for nostalgia /
Sure.
campy weirdness reasons.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you. I haven't seen the 1984 version.
What?
But, yeah.
Oh, it's really bad. You should see it.
I've seen the honest trailers take
yeah.
on it. And Lauren was sitting beside me just with her jaw just kind of going down to the floor.
The reason I like it Faye Dunaway is a super campy villain.
Oh, yes.
And then Brenda Vaccaro and... forget the other guy's name, not Peter.
Well, you've got Peter Cook.
Peter Cook.
Yeah.
Those are the only two that know what type of movie they're in.
Yes.
And play it accordingly.
Yes.
But it has some of the best wire work and flight sequences of any of the Christopher Reeve movies.
Oh,
they really perfected it on that movie. And I like it too because of like the dark fantasy and horror elements.
Yeah, okay.
Superman only has two weaknesses: kryptonite and magic.
Yeah.
And the 84 Supergirl is the only film to explore
magic.
Exactly.